Check, check, 1 2 1 2. They're in the room over Randall's room. That's where you counted the Chromebooks out, right?
Yeah, where's Randall's room? You need elementary for elementary? Right. I have a cart of, I told Miss Sanders last week, I have a cart of 36 in the front office, I already charged up. At MES.
That's for them to use.
Yeah, that's for them to use for summer school. I marked it, I already put it in my system.
Okay.
What time y'all need to start the video?
7 minutes.
Oh, well, come here, let me get 3 minutes of your time, please. Dr. Park.
Ain't got no more time to give.
Today, brain fried.
No, so we bring a bottle, I guess, with the kids who were moved from the regular school to the active summer school. Huh? No.
You're in EC
Oh, yeah, that's right. You do have to come
I
here.
don't have a cute little folder.
Mm.
I'll share my table.
No.
Come on in.
We will make sure you end up. We will make sure we add it.
How are you? Good. Good to see you. Dr. Parker asked me to talk to you about my budget.
I did that. She fed me up. She fed me up.
Call to order. This is a workshop meeting of the Marlin Independent School District being held June 6, 2022, beginning at 5 p.m. in the middle school library, 678 Success Drive. A live stream and recording of the meeting will be available for viewing on the district YouTube channel. The subject to be discussed or considered upon with any formal action may be taken or listed below. Items do not be taken in the same order as shown on this meeting notice, unless removed from the consent agenda. Items identified within the consent agenda will be acted on at one time. Roll call. Board Manager Terry. Present. Board Manager Elders is not present, and Board Manager Johnson present. 2 of the 3 board members are here. We do have a quorum. Would you please stand for the pledge and remain standing for a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Are there any public comments?
There were no comments posted.
Thank you. At this time, we're going into closed session. The time is 5:02. Pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074, deliberation of personnel matters, including addressing the teacher shortage with campuses and district leadership teams, members of the lost my spot, to hire coordinators of student services and head boys basketball coach, supplementary duties. Did I get that right? I hope so. We're in closed session. We're gonna stay in here, we're gonna back over there too?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I got it. All right, we're back out of closed session at 5:40. We're back in open session at 5:40. Next thing on the agenda is the superintendent report.
Board President Johnson, members of the board, tonight we will begin with the 2022-2023 budget workshop by Mr. Lawrence Galloway.
Good evening, Board President Johnson, members of the board, Dr. Henson. I bring to you what is our second to last budget workshop or budget presentation before the final approval of beginning of the fiscal year, July 1. I'm going to go over a couple of things that we've discussed in previous meetings. We are still working with the number of 797 as our ADA, and to reiterate, that's not our enrollment, but that's the average daily attendance of our students. You'll see on another slide the actual enrollment that we're projected to have going into the 22-23 school year. The way ADA is calculated is the average number of students that are present in a seat every single day of the school year, and it accumulates throughout the year. As you can see, we are still waiting on our 6 weeks school numbers to give us a better projection. So at that final budget presentation that will be June 20th, you will see some adjustments, hopefully for the good, that we will be able to prepare for the 22-23 school year. But I was assured today by our financial benchmarking point of contact at Region 12, they are crunching the numbers and entering everything in so that we can get some good numbers for our 22-23 projections. Moving forward, with the only adjustment that we have for this presentation came from our state on behalf. And in short, what this is benefits that are paid on behalf of the state. And what you'll see is a decrease because we've moved several positions to grant funds. And that type of funding for those benefits come out of those grant funds. So we are seeing a decrease in what we're paying out of our 199 funds. So that is a benefit to the district. So even though it's a decrease, it is an increase and a plus to Marlin ISD general revenue and general fund because we are utilizing or aligning those federal funding grants that we do have. So we're still working with the number of we're now working with the number of 11,710,660. Moving forward, as you can see, we are still in a good area as far as revenue and on track or a little bit above what we have historically brought to the board as revenue over the years. Again, I was showing you that we did decrease the $37,293, and that's the same amount as the TRS on behalf from the previous slide. Even though it is a decrease, it is a plus because we're transferring that expenditure or those expenses over to federal funding or federal grants. Also, I presented to you all, once we get to a final number, what it will look like once we start the July 1 fiscal year. As we see every month, we present to you financials. This is an approximate breakdown before we have those final numbers, the $11,710,660 in revenue, as we previously stated. And then we have a total of reporting out to you 100% of what our projected expenditures are. So I'm proud to say that we are projected or hopefully presenting to you a balanced budget going into the 22-23 school year with every last penny budgeted and going out the door to some type of expense for academic advancement of our students. So I'm very proud of that. It's been a long journey for our team starting in January, working with departments, working with campus leadership, working with maintenance and operations. And I think it's a very comprehensive budget that shows where our priorities are and where Marlin ISD priorities lead to going into the next school year. So if you want a further breakdown of that budget, I now have it broken down by function as well as by object. Objects are the individual expenditures that come from that function. That first column shows you actual payroll costs. The second column actually shows you contracted services, meaning that we don't have anyone in district that does those services, so we have to hire someone outside of the district. For example, Terminex, they may do some they may spray for bugs in the cafeteria or around the district. The individual who may stripe the football field and other services like that where we don't have someone in the district, but we contract those services out. We also contract services out to Region 12. Things of those such would be considered a 6,200. Supplies and materials are things, paper, pencils, notebooks, crayons, markers, anything that you can think of that's a supply of material that can be consumed by students or the professionals in the district will fall under that column. Other miscellaneous is operating expenses. This could pay for field trips, this could pay for travel, this could pay for other PD and fees that we have to make sure that the district operates smoothly. So this gives you a further breakdown of where the money actually is budgeted by function as well as by object, and it's still, if you look at the bottom to the right, the same number is budgeted, the $11,710,660, and as you can see, this is a more comprehensive look of where the money is budgeted.
Mr. Galloway, Board President Johnson, members of the board, does this include the budget for an additional police officer?
So this also was brought to our attention due to the travesty that has happened in a neighboring school district. We took the initiative to go ahead and budget for another police officer. That idea came from Dr. Henson and us meeting together. So this does include an additional officer. This budget also does include the 2% living increase for our staff, for the living adjustment for staff for positions that are on the admin pay scale. It also includes the $1,200 of additional compensation for our teachers to participate in summer professional development, and it also includes up to $1,800 in additional compensation for our campus leadership to participate in additional professional development in the summer as well. But yes, it does add extra security for an additional police officer for Marlin ISD students and staff as well. What I would like to highlight, and we will go over this again at the final budget workshop, some of the big ticket items that are part of this budget is our Singleton and Clark auditing services contract that you have seen before. That's a $30,000 contracted service that would be part of the business office. They do our fiscal audit throughout the year. They work with us to make sure that we are staying on track and we maintain that A first rating. You also see that we have purchases with Longhorn bus sales, which we are planning to replace some of our more aging buses to make sure that we have adequate transportation for our students and staff. Particularly in this one, this is a special education bus, and the approximate amount is $117,000, but that one we're working on a contract with the co-op, so they will pay us a leasing or like a rental fee in order for us to recoup some of those funds for that bus. What you also see is an upgrade, or as an upgrade, but which is actually us replacing some of our aging our more nimble transportation vehicles. As you can see, a 2022 Chevrolet Silverado will be replacing a 2003 maintenance vehicle. Going forward, a 2023 Express Cargo Van will be replacing a 2003 cargo van. So it's more of our more aging vehicles that are starting to hit that point of needing replacement, having tons of repairs. It's cheaper to just buy another vehicle versus keeping it in the maintenance shop or always down, and that downtime does lead to other issues in the district with downtime and air conditioning units. So we want to make sure we're supporting our maintenance and custodial staff that they have adequate maintenance materials. Another large ticket item that's in there is our SSA and cooperative contract with Region 12. This is an ongoing contract, and you've seen this one previously before. This is part of more of our inner workings, is how we keep up with our students, our PEAMS programming, our business software. Also, like I mentioned before, our financial benchmarking. Some of the other great things that we utilize are for academics is our DMAC, which helps us disaggregate a lot of data, and they support us in that at Region 12, where they do a lot of hosting, meaning they back up all that information to their server. So this is part of that large contract, and it's broken out over various departments. What you'll also see is our business services contract in there as well for $36,000. One is for payroll, and the other one is for our business manager. The business manager helps us with the audit as well. They also turn in our information to TRS to make sure TRS information is correct, the IRS as well. So they support us in back office in making sure that we are in compliance with all state financial reporting, all federal financial reporting, and they also help us develop the budget, help us develop make sure we're prepared for the audit, and they get that information over to them and calculate and run payroll monthly. Going forward, looking at our child nutrition, the projected revenue for child nutrition is $776,144. As you can see here, we only utilize 2 functions in child nutrition, 35 and as well as 51. We have a total of expenditures, and on the next slide, you will also see another breakdown by object as well. We're projecting our expenditures to match that $776,000, so we have a 100% budgeted child nutrition program. So we are presenting to you a child nutrition balanced budget for 22-23 school year as well. To give you a little more of a breakdown, as I mentioned, you can see that $388,000 of that is in payroll, with approximately $30,000 of that in contracted services between food services as well as plant and maintenance. What you will see there is a lot of maintenance on our ovens, our other washing machine materials that we utilize, just overall cleanliness of the cafeteria or some of the services that they utilize in child nutrition that would fall under either the food services component or maintenance to the machines and to the cookware that we utilize for those contracts. Again, to the bottom to the right, you will see a balanced budget of $776,144 as well as our projection. Are there any questions? Moving forward, recently we received a letter from Texas Education Agency Financial Division where they had specifically 10 concerns regarding our financial audit from the previous school year. This has been brought to your attention. We've had our own concern, and basically this validated our own concern that we had with our previous auditors. However, we were able to remedy the issue. Hopefully that going forward with our new auditors, and he assured Coach Johnson that he would get our audit here on time when they were here at that board meeting, and we still have faith in them that they will do that. So our immediate action was to get new auditors, and that has already been completed, and we have a new auditing firm going into the 22-23 school year. However, to make sure that we mitigate any lingering issues, from the 10 issues, I'll have for you outlined in detail what was TEA's requests and how we responded, and we've already responded immediately to make sure that it is corrected. Starting with number 1, that there was a change in our net position in our fiduciary funds. This was an accounting situation in which the New Mexico auditors were unfamiliar with how Texas Education Agency wanted a line item to look in our actual audit. We contacted them. They've already written a response. It was the responsibility of Beasley and Mitchell. The auditors updated the beginning balance of the net position, and we submitted that letter in response to TEA, and it was accepted. Going to number 2, the district auditors did not include the appropriate notes in the AFR, which is our annual financial report, which is our audit as well, to include significant TEA correspondence such as Marlin ISD having a board of managers, that the district was not rated, declared a state of disaster due to COVID, and not accredited. The district's accreditation was revoked. None of these notes were a part of the audit. The Beasley and Mitchell was responsible for making sure that that was in our audit. They did go back and update the audit to make sure those correspondence and those notes were added. Number 3, the auditors expressed uncertainty about the district's ability to continue as an ongoing concern. This was the responsibility of Beasley Mitchell, our auditors. The auditors did update the note to the TEA requirements and standards. Number 4, the district auditors did not reference the correct bullet note from the previous year's audit. They referred to what would be 4G instead of 4H, so they did make that update, and that has been completed. Number 5, the annual financial report noted a decrease in the district's pension liability due to the implementation of GASB, Governmental Accounting Standards Board, Statement Number 75. This is something that will affect every single school district in the state of Texas. It's about the pension liability that school districts have. We will see the same note every single year. If you go to any school district in the state of Texas, you will see this exact same note about the pension liability that you will have and our responsibility to make sure that it's paid and it's accounted for correctly. So there was no action required to make this note, but they just had to make sure that they updated it. Number 6, the district auditors did not submit the Marlin ISD AFR by the deadline of November 27th per Texas Education Code 44.088D. This was a responsibility of Beasley Mitchell. The audit was submitted to TEA December the 17th, 2021. This is a critical audit item in the first report. The district does not expect to be penalized for this, as you are given 30 additional days after the November 27th, deadline. And we verified that in Texas Education Code. In the letter that they responded to TEA, they noted and took responsibility for it. So we have the documentation about the audit being submitted correctly within the 30 days and them taking responsibility for not submitting it in a timely manner on the 27th. Number 7, the district auditors did not present the fiduciary funds or notes in accordance to GASB number 84. The auditors did make this update, and this was the responsibility of Beasley and Mitchell. Number 8, the district auditors did not correctly note that there was a deficit in the food service fund and that the general fund was to subsidize this deficit. As we mentioned before, there was that decrease in child nutrition due to students eating during COVID, hence the reason we made several adjustments in child nutrition to try to make sure we increase students eating towards the end of the school year and going into next school year. Number 9, the district auditors did not correctly note the total amount of member pension contribution and district contribution. Beasley Mitchell was responsible. They made it the update on page 54 that should have matched page 37. And finally, there was a discrepancy and inconsistencies in the data feed that was uploaded to TEA, resulting in a data error. If you've ever attached a file and you may not have watched it fully upload and then it gives you an error, this would be an example of what happened. However, Beasley and Mitchell was responsible for making sure that was corrected and uploaded correctly. It has been corrected. And finally, in a note, required response to the letter, they gave us 30 days. However, Marlin ISD's surpassed that and submitted it May 31st, way before the deadline, to make sure that we close out this financial compliance letter. Are there any questions? Yes, sir. We've communicated with Texas Education Agency, and we're waiting for an official response. We know that we have the documentation that the letter was accepted, but the written response was accepted and uploaded to what we call TEAL. It's a program that we utilize, an online program. So we're just waiting for another correspondence from Texas Education Agency to make sure it's closed out and we're done with this letter and we can move comfortably into next school year.
Board President Johnson, all the concerns were due to the auditor. So whenever you look at the responsible party, TEA recognized that the auditor had made various mistakes and gave us time to go back and change them. We wanted to just be transparent with you all that we did receive a letter that things had to be changed and that they've been changed and addressed, or now we are waiting back to hear from TEA. No, sir. We are changing auditors. So we got someone from Texas.
They're actually from right up the road, if I'm not mistaken, right there in Temple. Any other questions? Thank you.
Next, we will have addressing the teacher shortage, ensuring high-quality instruction by Dr. Stacy Parker.
Good evening, Board President Johnson, members of the board, Dr. Henson. Tonight I will talk to you about the teacher shortage and how, as Marlin ISD, we're going to address the nationwide shortage and how we're going to continue to ensure high quality instruction to sustain the growth that we have been experiencing the last 2 years. So in our first plan to address the shortages, we know again that we are all currently facing a nationwide shortage of teachers. We have received various trainings and opportunities to learn how to work around some of these challenges and with an outside of the box thinking in order to continue to meet the needs of our students. And our first means to address is that we are adopting an all hands on deck approach. And so while we are actively working and filling key positions within our district, you will see that central administration staff will be returning to the classroom with a unique schedule that I'll discuss in a couple of upcoming slides. But if you will note here, all of our executive cabinet board and members of our district team will be supporting key content areas from elementary and middle school and high school. And so we will have support in literacy, math, social studies, and science. This will also support setting an example and modeling in those classrooms, as well as mirroring and shadowing what we want to see, and that offers us to be in the work so that it also supports our other plans that we've had moving forward with professional learning and support for our teachers with a model classroom type of setup. In addition to central administration staff, we are also utilizing campus administration staff, with the exception of our principals, because we do want to preserve their complete time to effectively lead the campus and lead the charge in all things academic and operations at our 3 campuses. So you will note various deans of students, deans of instruction, and our associate principals. They will also be supporting in key areas from elementary through high school to support our teachers as well. Another way of addressing the shortage is that we did have to think about how we think about time and how we scheduled and structured our instructional day. So I did just a snippet of the master schedule to show that we are adjusting our master schedule to allow more time to teach, learn, and our teachers to grow professionally. Just with this snippet, you will see that one campus core instruction is delivered in the afternoon, but what that does is it allows for our classroom sizes to remain small, but also have our students where they are targeted and focused with the instruction with our support staff that I just mentioned from the district office and campus leadership. We also have built-in support times with our classrooms so that we are on a block type schedule where we will be supporting 2 days a week, but that will not disrupt students receiving core content support daily. So we utilize our talents and our certifications to support our current teachers as well. So this is support on top of teachers that will also be in the classroom in those content areas, walking alongside of us, planning and supporting our students. And so I just wanted to give that snippet. Also, how we're ensuring high quality instruction is by adjusting the schedule, we were able to allot more time for teacher planning and teacher professional learning communities, PLCs, with support around cohort groups so they can actually focus on their targeted instructional areas and have more time to really dive into the materials and have learning opportunities around the content. One of our key rationales is that one of the statements that is often stated is that students that are their post-graduation ready, if they just show up daily, do what's required, and meet the teacher's expectations. Research has shown that this is a myth, and so what we want to do to address the shortage is to dispel the myths. And we are guided by a project from it's the Opportunity Myth by the New Teacher Project. This is an organization that has partnered with TEA to retrain districts around high quality instructional material and instructional delivery around research-based instructional practices. So again, by us addressing the shortages, by getting all hands on deck, we can help support all of our campuses around providing access to stronger instruction and preparing our students to actually meet the post-K-12 goals. Also as well, providing those grade appropriate assignments. All district staff placed in these areas are certified, and so we are eligible to and qualified to teach and support in the areas in which we've been placed. We want this to help promote strong instruction, deep engagement, and helping to hold all of us as well as our teachers to high expectations around the academic program for our district. And just so you know, what are high-quality instructional materials, the way we are also going to support is that we're going to ensure that we have full coverage of our Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills standards in our classrooms as we teach. We're also going to align those practices to evidence-based instructional strategies, and we're going to make sure that we have support for all of our learners. So not only are us returning to the classroom classroom to support. This will also strengthen with our knowledge around our emergent bilingual programs, our special education programs, and so that we support all learners in that. And then it's also going to enable frequent progress monitoring because we'll be hands in the work to support our teachers with those data conversations and how we're steadily growing our students. And lastly, it includes implementation support for our teachers because in addition to us teaching in the classroom, the additional plan to support is cohort coaching plans in partnership with Region 12, as well as targeted professional learning plans and the design and use of our model classrooms to promote the joy of teaching and learning across our 3 campuses. Are there any questions? Thank you.
And Board President Johnson, members of the board, today I saw a tweet that 43,000 Texas teachers have left the profession this year, whether it's through retirement or through resignation. 43,000 with only 18,000 in the works to replace them. So that puts the state at a 25,000 teacher deficit. But not in Marlin ISD.
Not more or less. We steady win.
Board President Johnson, members of the board, tonight I want to present to you the 2022-2023 organizational chart. There have not been many adjustments to the org chart from this current school year to next school year. One thing that I did want to mention and highlight is that Mr. Terry is now going to report to the Chief Operating Officer due to his work on the Community Engagement Grant. The executive cabinet are the members in the gray, including Ms. Patrice Woodson. Ms. Nikki Edwards will help support in the supervision and accountability of campus principals, but it primarily remains the same from this current school year to next school year. Are there any questions? Next, I would like to present a bond planning update. Originally, the district has partnered or did partner with WRA, John Irwin, and Stiefel Financial, and they are still our partners. We began to explore a potential bond in May 2022. However, we did decide to postpone that for a potential bond in November of 2022. Here are the current conditions of Marlin High School and of Legion Field. We see water damage, cracks in the foundation. We do have the leaning of that third picture on top of the unknown pillar. Of course, our press box, that is a direct reflection of the water in my office. And then, of course, whenever it does rain in the hallway on that last bottom right picture, we have to always put trash cans into the hallway. And then this year there was one basketball game where we had to stop the game and move it across the street to the middle school due to the leaking in the main gymnasium. So the purpose of the Bond Advisory Committee is to serve as that voice for the community and really understand the financial scope. The Bond Advisory Committee, along with the board, are going to be the drivers of this bond. So our upcoming meeting dates will now be in mid-July, from the 19th all the way to August 16th. So about a month where once again we'll go over bonds 101. What is a bond? Let's talk about the financial impact to the community, and then of course our construction wants and needs. Ultimately, we are going to have to decide high school and or Legion Field or any other projects that the Community Advisory Committee deems necessary. As of right now, it does consist of 25 members that include our mayor, former school board members, and of course, current district employees, but primarily members of the Marlin community. So meetings 1 and 2 recap, we talked about Marlin High School, and I put renovation versus new build. It was overwhelming to go for a new build. That's the want. but we still have to understand the financial impact and feasibility of can we build a new high school. And then Legion Field, which is a pillar in this community as it relates to just tradition of Marlin, Texas. So we're talking turf, potential parking, we know a press box, scoreboard, track, and renovations to our concession stands, restrooms, and making it ADA compliant. One goal of the community was to knock down the old field house, so you can see it from 7 and put like a nice big bronze brass bulldog that potentially begin to kind of rub as you come in to start a new tradition while still remaining everything at Legion Field. So an important date will be August 22nd, 2022. We have a board meeting scheduled that date, and that is the actual last legal day in which the board can call for the bond. 2 weeks earlier, on August the 8th, we're going to have basically a board meeting primarily focused in on the bond, the next steps to inform you all before the board makes the possible decision to call for the bond, just so the board is fully aware of the projects, the scope, the financial impact, because the board has to be champions for the bond. Are there any questions? Next, we will have an update that I'm proposing for the 22-23 stipend schedule. Everything remains the same. However, in speaking with Mr. Brantner, he did show and justify the amount of time that he is going to events, and they're not local. Houston, San Angelo, San Antonio, Fort Worth. It's about 29 days of additional work. So in speaking with Mr. Galloway, Mr. Bustamante, we wanted to propose tonight to make it the same as our other head coaches. So our head basketball, our head football, our head band director, head drill and cheer, to make it an even $5,000. We understand for all employees, the stipend is never going to be enough money for their work, but we did want to make it fair with him being a lead sponsor to match it with the other lead sponsor, lead director, and lead coach stipend amounts. And that's the only adjustment that was already presented and approved earlier. Are there any questions? Next, we'll have, for your consent, a purchase of the North Texas Environmental and Demolition Services Abatement.
Good evening, Board President Johnson, members of the board, Dr. Henson. This evening, I will be presenting to you for consent the purchase with North Texas Environmental and Demolition Services Abatement. The district did accept written proposals from qualified vendors for abatement services for the 4 buildings that we have located on 209 Green Street. On this slide, you will see the 4 buildings that the asbestos abatement services are needed, and this is located at 209 Green Street. This is the future site for our new bus barn.
Board President Johnson, members of the board, and we are suggesting demolition because it's an eyesore. They've been up for a long time. They're not being utilized except for storage in one of the buildings, and the amount of asbestos in those buildings is pretty dangerous.
Pretty severe.
And then, of course, there's an issue in speaking with Vince. We do have homeless individuals who might utilize and go in and take habitat in those buildings. If we really want to make sure that the district does their part to revitalize Marlin, we have to make sure that buildings that cannot be salvaged and have no use are demolished.
And before we move forward with the demolition, we do have to perform the asbestos abatement. I'm not gonna do it, but but the 2 vendors that we were considering are North Texas Environmental and Demolition Services, and the one on the right is One Priority Environmental Services. Both of these vendors are willing to remove and dispose of all the identified asbestos. All the work will be regulated in accordance with state and federal regulation laws, and all the waste materials will be double-bagged, and disposed of in accordance with state and federal regulations. As you do, as you can notice up there, there's a significant difference in the price, but we have been working with an asbestos consultant, and we put out a very specific RFQ, and we felt that, you know, based on the feedback that we got from our consultants, that North Texas would provide sufficient services and appropriate in price. So we're definitely confident moving forward for $38,375 compared to the amount on the right. So we're confident working with North Texas Environmental and Demolition Services for this project. Are there any questions? Yes, sir.
No, sir, so this is the height, this is the site of the old high school, so it's the old band hall?
Well, it could be that, one of these buildings used to be the bus barn, I think, if I'm looking right.
Oh, I'm not sure about
Is
that.
it the band hall, that old band hall?
The old band hall, so, of course, across the street, across Kendrick is the old elementary school.
The one up here.
Okay, we're
That's
trying
on
to
this
tear
side
that
up
down
here.
also?
We're not tearing that one down just yet, because we're working with the city on that
Just
one.
those buildings right there on that little block?
Just the ones, yes, sir, with the 4 arrows.
So that used to be a vocational building, a band hall, and a bus barn, and some other little building that they,
Oh,
a special ed building.
I didn't know that.
Is that right, Miss Sherry?
The bus barn,
I remember,
I mean, the bus barn that we have right now is pretty
when I was
close to this.
baseball coach, I went.
Yeah, it is pretty close.
It's had a fence around it. And when I first came to Marlin, we practiced on that field, junior high,
In the middle,
back there behind those buildings there,
right here?
right in there. That was our practice field.
How many ankles got twisted in that field?
Huh?
How many ankles got twisted in that field?
Oh, it was good back then.
Okay, it's in bad shape now, coach.
We watered it and everything.
Okay.
But, yeah, that building right there on the left, I think that was the old bus barn.
Yeah.
And then they had buses parked up by where the other things.
I think on the top building right here, there's enough water in that building for us to.
Is that
have
the
our
old
own
band
Marlin
hall or is
aquarium.
that the old vocational building?
was that where the band hall?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, it used to be administration, it used to be on the
So,
One of these is the administration.
Top one? Is that right? I never didn't know what it was.
and so the idea for this, it will be to demolish these. We're going to move the portable building
Move this.
somewhere else. We're going to build a new facility for our bus barn and maintenance team. I've spoken with,
Then what you gonna do with the bus barn they have now?
so we're going to keep it just to do maintenance, correct? It's gonna be turned into just maintenance and storage per se. But right now, that facility, and when I think about it, y'all know how much we all care about Vince, Marshall, Cody, Amos, Robert, Staggs, like the whole crew, and for them to be in that facility, and they're okay with it. It's cold, it's not insulated, it's hot. The carpet in Marshall's office is old Baptist church carpet, because it's red. Every time I go in there, I think about Vacation Bible School.
They don't all have a workspace, they just have chairs. In the
It's not
office.
fit. It is bad. So the idea will be, they want to keep that to store things, but we need to knock this down and build them an appropriate facility so they can actually park the
So to
vehicles.
knock it down is how much?
So right now, to get through the asbestos is $38,000. We haven't brought you all the proposal for the complete price, because right now we're still in negotiation. We bidded out the project. We're working with John Irwin Construction, who is also doing our proposed bond project as well. But I can't give you a price right now. Yes, sir.
How are we paying for this?
So this will be paid out of our budget, so either with various savings, or we do have enough in our reserve. But whenever we bring to the board, because you always still have to approve it, we'll have the complete financial breakdown of how we're paying for it and where we're getting the funds from. But we definitely have enough capacity, minus the $80,000.
I know just, there be a building also with a bus department inside of.
Yes, sir. So right now, the plan will be, Jesse, can you kind of put on that left side? Yes, sir. So right there, we're going to build about a 2,000 square foot facility or building. Then attached on the back side will be a massive garage. My plan for it financially will be enclosed on all 4 sides. If not, it'll just be the world's nicest carport, but everything will be boxed in, fixed in, away from the elements in which they said that they can do lighting, electricity, and everything.
This portable that's there right now, we're gonna have to move it.
And it's still, okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's in
ma'am.
decent shape.
Yes, ma'am. And it is owned by the co-op, but we'll work with them when the appropriate time comes. But of course, whenever you're talking construction, we're still 12 months out, let's just say, from getting anything just completely finalized and built. So if you approve the asbestos tonight, we'll have to get back in contact with the company.
10 to 11 days, so we have to report to the state 10 days prior for us performing the asbestos abatement. So it should be in the next couple of weeks that they actually start working after that 10 days. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
It's housed here. So, and that was just a snippet from the Google map, Mr. Johnson. Was Boys and Girls Club ever over there?
Yes, sir.
Oh, it was?
Yeah,
They used the.
where that band hall, the corner one.
Oh, babies, with the asbestos?
So the Boys and Girls Club was this bottom building right here.
Okay, it was the bottom. Okay, so that one's in better shape.
Yeah, this one's in a lot better shape. These 3 are, I don't want to say good shape, but I mean better than this one up here.
Okay, that's the one that made me fear, because if they were in that top one.
Oh, no. they
Yeah,
were
we will.
top.
The Boys and Girls Club was the bottom right.
Okay, thank you. Next, we will have Purchase for Need These by Adam Lejeune.
President Johnson, members of the board, Dr. Henson, thank you. We were lucky enough a couple years ago to purchase about 80 learning displays for teacher classrooms. And what we learned was that a large one-size-fits-all purchase for every classroom is not really a sustainable future for the district. We were able to get a large number of devices because they were less expensive. That's sort of what you have to do whenever you have to replace everything. You're basically buying on how agile you can be in those purchases. But ultimately, when you do that, you do end up with a less capable device. Now, I am happy to say that about 90% of those displays are still operating, and we're not doing away with them. But this model classroom purchase would be establishing those model classrooms on each campus that Dr. Parker mentioned. The idea is that we have high leverage classes that are using those classrooms, that they will not be utilized the entire school day. So there is time and room for other classes to go in and basically try them out. What we would ideally like to happen is that the staff that are using those classrooms as the demo or as the model classroom would see the equipment, tell us that they like it and that they want to use it, develop a plan in their own lesson plans and show that they are taking the appropriate training in order to use the equipment, create a proposal for themselves, submit the proposal, have it approved at EC, and then have funds allocated through teacher grants, district-funded teacher grants, in order to make those purchases. This is all in support of the key strategic measure 6.3, which I'll be discussing in more detail at the next board meeting. But due to the timing of the end of the year and availability of materials, we thought it was worth it to get a month jump on shipping to try to get them in before the beginning of the school year. That's why we're presenting this to you tonight. The package that we've identified from Need These, which is the name of the company that we partnered with, is an 86-inch interactive learning display. So it's not a just static display, but one that you can have up to 10 pointers moving things around all at once. Those have an estimated lifespan of, it says 10 years, but that's actually being conservative. It's 10 to 15 years. E-glass writing surface, which is the very latest in this style of device, where the teacher is looking through a clear glass panel, writing on the panel with a glowing pen, and then that is getting sent onto the display. The big advantage here is that teachers and students do not have to turn their back, and they can still write on the glass and still have information displayed. The other great thing is that you can pull from your learning software or your curriculum software, display it on that screen, and then it is still transparent so you can see through it and then put the materials on the TV. When I say this is the very, very latest in educational technology, this is the very, very latest in educational technology. It's very, very cool. We also have a high-quality webcam with speakers. This is obviously, COVID is not entirely over yet, and we still have some really suspicious things about what the future might hold for COVID. But even if it doesn't come back, we still do have the advantage of remote field trips, distance learning with universities, things like that. This is a high-quality system, again, a long lifetime, not just something that we can buy and throw in every single classroom that hopefully lasts the school year. Supporting those three key pieces of equipment are other high-quality, long-lasting frames and carts. The top cart is a motorized cart that can support the the learning display. It is electrically driven so that it can raise and lower. You can lower it for the smaller students to come and interact with the TV. You can raise it to get it above people's heads so that everybody in the classroom can see. And the e-glass cart is a custom-made cart, long-lasting, very heavy-duty. It's actually designed for the largest e-glass that they sell. And it has an integrated teacher station. That was one thing that a lot of teachers told us that they wanted, was a place to put their laptop. And with this package, this 22nd century learning environment that we're calling it in EC, gives them a chance, gives the teachers a chance to really have a teaching station, a center where the learning can take place that's not with your back turned to the classroom in the very, very front. Included in this purchase would be interactive software for the display, a library of lessons that could be used as supplemental lessons, modified, and room to create them, interactive games for especially the smaller students that could be used if there is a indoor recess due to weather or some other event. And of course, self-paced training is included with the purchase. So that we would be asking the teachers who are creating the proposals to complete the training before they would be able to get the equipment. One thing that we noticed is if you just give someone a horse, they may not know how to shoe it. So we want to give them the tools to use their equipment that they're asking for before we actually put it in their hands. The package, the one-room package that was put together for us is $9,907. Obviously, that is not above the board threshold. We felt that a price point of under $10,000 would be a really good goal to shoot for those teacher grants. We do have grant funds that come in every year that we can use towards those teacher grants. With the long life of each package, then we are getting a lot out of those grant funds that we would use to purchase those. For this year, we're looking for 7 rooms. This is at least 2 model classrooms at every campus. And the purchase would be through the Omnia National contract, so there was no RFP, but this is a state negotiated best price contract, and we would make the purchase using grant funds. Are there any questions? So our intention is to use them for those core content classes, ELA, literacy, social studies, and science. And they would be available in the off schedule that Dr. Parker presented for other classes to go in there and demo the equipment as well. 3 on the elementary, 2 at the middle school, and 2 at the high school. Okay. Thank you.
And Board President Johnson, this concludes the superintendent's report.
Who trained each individual to use these? You said something about training.
Yes, sir. The package comes with online training, and then any additional training we could provide in-house or we could purchase it separately.